Ladies and gentlemen, let me break something down for you real clear. When someone leaves you for somebody else, your first thought is usually, what did I do wrong? You start playing all the moments back in your head, the texts, the fights, the little signs you missed. You start blaming yourself. And then that pain sets in. The kind that keeps you up at night wondering why you weren't enough. But let me tell you something that'll change the way you see this whole situation. Rejection is not a loss. It's a redirection. See, God don't make mistakes, people do. But God, He's got a plan that don't always line up with your timeline. So sometimes He has to move people out the way who are blocking your blessings. And yeah, it hurts. It feels like betrayal, it feels like abandonment. But in reality, it's elevation. You just didn't recognize it at first because it came dressed as heartbreak. You thought they were your forever, didn't you? You thought y'all had a future. The trips, the kids, the house, the whole dream. But let me tell you what I've learned after living a little. Just because you pictured someone in your life long term doesn't mean they had the character to last the journey. You can't build a forever with someone who doesn't know how to stay loyal in a storm. So when they walk away, especially when they run to someone else, don't look at that like you lost something. Nah. What you lost was someone who didn't see your value. What you gained is space for someone who will. See, when God removes someone from your life, He's doing addition by subtraction. You might not see it right away, but eventually you'll look back and say, whew, thank you, Lord, for closing that door. Because the longer you sit in sorrow about who left, the longer you delay the blessing that's meant to walk in. You don't need closure from a person who slammed the door on you. Your healing ain't in their apology, it's in your understanding. Understand this, they were never meant to stay. And I know somebody out there is thinking, Steve, but it still hurts. Of course it does. You're human. You invested time, energy, love, and then suddenly gone, like it meant nothing. But that's when you have to get out of your feelings and into your faith. Because feelings will keep you stuck in the past. But faith will push you into your purpose. When people reject you, it's often because they can't handle the weight of your destiny. They don't see what God sees in you. They can't see the future you, the healed you, the elevated you. And sometimes they'll leave before that version of you even arrives. But let them go. Because if they had stayed, they would have only caused more damage. You're not meant to shrink yourself to keep someone comfortable. If your growth threatens them, that's not your person. That's your lesson. Rejection ain't personal, even when it feels like it. Sometimes it's just a matter of timing. Sometimes it's about them not being ready for real love. And sometimes it's about you not realizing you deserve more, but either way, it's not the end of your story. In fact, it might just be the plot twist that takes your life in a better direction. So the next time someone walks out on you, don't beg, don't chase, don't try to convince them of your worth. Because when you truly know who you are, you don't need validation from people who were temporary in the first place. Their rejection doesn't define your value, it simply redirects your path towards something and someone better. You were never meant to be someone's second choice, backup plan, or temporary thrill. You were made with intention. You've got purpose running through your veins. And if someone was blind enough to leave, let that be the last time you try to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it the first time. Because the real ones, they'll recognize you from the start, and they won't need to compare you to anyone else to know they've got something special. Now listen, after somebody leaves you, especially for someone else, you've got two choices. Sit around, cry, and let it break you, or get up, wipe your tears, and let it build you. And I'm going to tell you the truth. The most powerful thing you can do after a breakup ain't revenge, it's self-improvement. Because that's how you win without ever having to say a word. You see, people expect you to fall apart when they leave. They think you're going to sit there scrolling to Instagram, watching them live life like you never mattered. And for a minute, yeah, it stings. But let me tell you something. Your glow up, your come up, your peace, that's the greatest clapback of all. Not the bitter posts, not trying to make them jealous, none of that petty stuff. No, the real move is to turn inward, not outward. Focus on yourself. Invest in the most valuable thing you'll ever own. You start by taking care of your mind. When someone walks away, it messes with your head. You question your worth. You start doubting if you were good enough, pretty enough, successful enough. Stop that. That's a trap. The first thing you've got to do is reset your thinking. Remind yourself that somebody else's inability to value you does not define your worth. Get your mind right, because once your thoughts start changing, your whole life starts changing. Then get your body right. And I ain't just talking about looking good for the gram, I'm talking about health, energy, strength. Inside and out. Go walk, go lift. Go dance. Do something that makes you feel powerful again, because when you feel strong in your body, your spirit starts catching up. You walk different. You talk different. Your confidence goes through the roof. That's the kind of shift that makes people do a double take and say, whoa, what happened to them? And while you're doing all that, work on your purpose. Maybe you let it slide while you were in that relationship. Maybe you got so caught up in loving them, you forgot to love your goals. Well, now's the time to pick them back up. Get back to the dream. Take that class. Launch that business. Write that book. Go get that promotion. Show yourself, not them, that you're more than someone's partner. You are a whole, capable, powerful individual with or without them. You know what really breaks people down when they see you after they left? It's not a new relationship. It's not a fancy car or flashy pictures. It's seeing that you're happy without them. It's seeing that peace in your eyes, that glow in your smile, that unstoppable energy you carry when you're focused on becoming the best version of yourself. That's what shakes them. Because deep down, they thought you'd never rise without them. But now they got to watch you from the sidelines while you become everything you were meant to be and more. Self-improvement is also about emotional growth. You can't just look better, you got to be better. Learn from the pain. Ask yourself what this breakup taught you. Were there red flags you ignored? Were there boundaries you didn't set? Heal that stuff, work through it. Because the next version of you deserves a love that's rooted in truth, in strength, and in clarity. And the only way you get that is by doing the inner work now. You don't need to compete with the person they ran to. That's not your race. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. Make that person proud. Make that person stronger, wiser, and more focused. One day you're going to look back and say, that breakup, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it forced you to wake up, it forced you to grow, it forced you to stop sleeping on yourself. So get to work. Get back to the gym. Get in your bag. Get back on your path. You ain't doing this to prove something to them. You're doing it to reclaim you. That version of you that got lost trying to love someone who couldn't see your value. That version of you that's been waiting to shine. Every time you invest in yourself, you build something no one can take away. And when that person who left finally sees the new you, And believe me, they will. They won't even recognize the person they walked away from because you'll be too far ahead, too healed, too blessed, and too focused to even care. When someone walks out of your life and thinks they can replace you like you were nothing, there's always that little voice in your head whispering, you've got to show them. But let me tell you something real. The best way to show them isn't through petty posts, angry texts, or trying to make them jealous. No, that's noise. That's desperation. The real move? Let your success speak for you. See, people expect you to fall apart when they leave. They expect you to spiral. They think you're going to lose sleep over them forever, just sitting there heartbroken while they move on like it's nothing. And if you let your emotions lead the way, they win. But if you flip the script and channel all that pain into power, that's where you change the game. That's where you shift from victim to victor, from broken to unstoppable. Revenge is noisy, but success is silent, powerful, and impossible to ignore. It don't post 1,000 times a day for validation. It don't argue. It don't beg. It simply shows up and shines. When you stop chasing people and start chasing purpose, things begin to shift in your favor. Doors start opening. Your circle gets tighter. Your confidence gets louder. And the ones who left, they start noticing, they'll scroll past your progress like they ain't watching. But don't be fooled. People see what they pretend not to see. That promotion you just got, they saw it. That business you just launched, they heard about it. That smile you're wearing again after weeks of silence, oh yeah, they feel that. And it's eating them up inside because they expected your life to collapse without them. But instead, you're rising like never before. And not for them, but for you. You see, real confidence doesn't come from revenge. It comes from knowing you didn't need to be cruel to come out on top. You didn't need to play games. You just stayed in your lane, kept your head down, and let God and the grind do the talking. That's how you win. You don't throw dirt, you build. You don't clap back, you climb up. Because when you start living in alignment with your purpose, everything else starts falling into place. Success ain't just about money, by the way. It's about peace. It's about waking up without that heavy feeling in your chest. It's about being excited for your future again. It's about laughing with your whole heart, even when you thought you'd never smile again. That's real success. And believe me, when they see you walking around with that light in your eyes again, not pretending, but actually healed and thriving, that's what gets to them. You know why? Because they know what they gave up. They start thinking, wait, hold up. I had that. I left that? Yes, they did. And now they got to live with it while you rise. But by the time they realize your worth, you'll be too focused to look back. Because once you taste growth, you don't have time for people who couldn't appreciate you when they had you. And don't get it twisted. It's not about making them regret. That's not your job. Your job is to walk in your power, to become so successful in your healing and your journey in your life that they wouldn't even recognize the person you've become. And the best part, you don't owe them a single explanation. You don't have to say a word because silence paired with elevation speaks volume. When you let success be your response, you move with dignity. You keep your head high. You stop explaining yourself to people who never saw your value in the first place. You don't shrink. You rise. You take that pain and build something beautiful out of it. A new version of yourself that's stronger, wiser, and no longer looking for validation from anyone who didn't choose you. You didn't lose them, they lost you. But instead of wasting time proving that, just live your life so fully that they can't help but feel the void of your absence. That's how you clap back. Not with bitterness, but with greatness. Not with spite, but with success. You've been in a situation that just didn't make sense at the time. You're sitting there wondering, God, why would you let them leave me? Why would you let me love someone so deeply, only for them to walk away like I meant nothing? See, that's when you've got to lean on something bigger than your emotions. That's when you've got to trust the bigger plan, even when it hurts, even when you don't understand. When somebody leaves you, especially for somebody else, your first instinct is to take it personally. You think, if I was better, if I had done more, if I had been more attractive or more successful, maybe they would have stayed. But let me tell you something that's going to free you from that lie. You are not the reason they walked away. People don't leave because you're not enough. People leave because they're not ready for what you bring to the table. What feels like rejection is often protection. What feels like the end is often God's way of clearing the path for a new beginning. See, we get so focused on holding on to what we thought was meant to be that we don't realize God is removing something that was blocking our blessing. That relationship that ended, that door that closed, it's not punishment. It's preparation. He's making room for something greater, but you'll never see it if you keep staring at what left. You've got to trust that the pain has a purpose. You may not see it right now, but down the road you'll look back and say, man, now I get it. That breakup, that heartbreak, it saved me, it grew me, it got me closer to where I was supposed to be. But you've got to walk through the valley before you get to the mountaintop. You've got to go through the fire to come out refined. Think about all the things in your life that didn't work out. That job you didn't get, that person who ghosted you, that opportunity that fell through. At the time, it felt like a loss. But later on, you realize it was a setup for something better. That's how God works. He don't always explain himself, but he always delivers. But it only works if you trust him enough to let go of what he's trying to remove. You weren't created to live in confusion. You weren't created to chase people who can't see your worth. You were created with purpose on purpose. And that means every person who leaves, every door that closes, every no you hear, it's all part of a bigger design. The pain you're feeling right now is not wasted. It's shaping you. It's preparing you. It's breaking off the parts of you that settled, that tolerated less than you deserve, that forgot how powerful you are. And look, trusting the bigger plan doesn't mean you don't feel the pain. It doesn't mean you fake like you're okay when you're not. It means you feel it, you process it, but you don't live there. You don't let it define you. You don't let it make you bitter. You rise with faith, knowing that what's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. That the version of love, success, and peace God has waiting for you can't be compared to what you just lost. When people leave, don't try to understand everything they did. Don't overanalyze why they chose someone else. Some questions are best left unanswered. Because the truth is, if they were meant to stay, they would have. And if they didn't, it's because God's plan is too big to include people who don't see your value. The real blessing, it's not that they left, it's that you're finally free to receive something real, something stable, something divine. The hardest thing to do is trust when you're hurting, but that's when it matters most. That's when you've got to look in the mirror and remind yourself, God's got me. I don't know how or when, but I know he's working this out for my good. That's not weakness. That's power. That's faith. And faith will carry you places that fear never could. So stop asking why they left. Stop asking what you did wrong. Start asking what God is trying to do right in your life. Start asking how you can grow, how you can learn, how you can level up, because that's the real comeback. Trusting the process, trusting the pain, trusting the plan, even when it doesn't make sense yet.